East Jerusalem. Our Middle East correspondent Michael Pluchak there. Michael, this where you're at, one of the entrances into the Old City, is really the heart of what this dispute is all about. What does that area look like, and what is Israel preparing for?
At the moment, Narita, it's all but over here, it would appear. We've seen very minor clashes break out earlier in the day after afternoon prayers, roughly at noontime. But at the moment, Narita, really all that's left are a lot of TV crews from all around the world, really anywhere you can imagine. They have a TV crew here. And a number of protesters that are just sitting by idly at the moment, kind of waiting for something to happen, it would appear. But at the moment, it's very quiet, Narita. And, you know, it is also very, very cold outside right now. So people are going home to kind of stay warm as well. Perhaps tomorrow we'll see a continuation of this.
Michael, let's get a little bit more context for our viewers in terms of the Palestinian leadership, because we've been talking about what they have said, both Hamas and the Palestinian Authority. In the backdrop of this current tension is a process of a unity deal between those two factions. How do you think this decision, this unrest, might play into what is, until now, a pretty tough process to get one Palestinian voice speaking together?
It's such a shame, Nuri, you know, because I had a newspaper with me before I was going to show you, I was going to show our viewers, and I had lost it. But essentially, when we were here earlier, some youths were giving out newspapers, kind of pamphlets, if you will. And the headline, the main headline on it was a picture of the Palestinian unity process. You had the leaders of Hamas and Fatah at that same table, that picture that we've seen a lot of lately. And on top it said, now is the time to continue unity. So the effect that this is having really is two-folded, I would say. On the one hand, Donald Trump's announcement is giving a lot of merit to the more extremist factions of Palestinian politics that have been saying for all these decades, Palestinian President Abu Mazen, Abbas, has been talking to the Israelis and the Americans, and we've told you, Hamas would say, that it was to no avail because the Americans are not a neutral arbitrator, and here is your evidence, right? So in a sense, Donald Trump's announcement very much providing merit to that argument of the more extremist Palestinian factions. But then the other thing you'll see, a second effect, if you will, is the push for that unity, essentially giving Palestinians all the more reason to unite now, highlighting to them or underpinning for them where their common ground in fact does lie. And for both Hamas and Fatah, Jerusalem is a main issue that it really engenders a lot of emotion. And so in that, really pushing those two sides together. And
Michael,
that was the front headline of that newspaper given out today.
Briefly, it's interesting what you say, that it might actually unite them, but not necessarily against peace, for the cause of peace, rather. Certainly, Mahmoud Abbas needs to be strong for any kind of peace process to go forward. Is your take then that this decision on behalf of President Trump is weakening the Palestinian president?
Yes, most definitely in the short term, yes. In the long term, that will depend on how Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas decides to play the set of cards he has now. But in the short term, yes, what Donald Trump's announcement did was essentially bypass the entire process and give Israel, if you will, a gift, really. And giving none to the Palestinians, that gives a lot of legitimacy to the more hawkish factions to say, well, basically, we told you so. All of those decades that you've spent since Oslo, really, talking to the Israelis, trying to bring about a resolution, has resulted in nothing. And Hamas would say, look at what we have achieved with the Second Intifada. They would say, we were able to liberate Gaza. And we've seen calls from that now. Ismail Haniyeh, the head of Hamas, was speaking from Gaza the other day, saying that now is the time to liberate Jerusalem and the West Bank as well, saying that just as we did in the Gaza Strip in 2006. So that...
All right, Michael Pluchak in East Jerusalem, thanks very much for now some interesting analysis on how this might actually serve the Israeli